Hello,
Hey
everyone.
everyone. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday to
We are
everybody.
here to give you your career tip.
It's Career Tip Tuesday, you guys. We're excited because, again, for those of you who are new to Black Careers Network, welcome to the Career Hub. Welcome to being a part of our community. And you should be seeing this live from our app. So, welcome. For those of you who are watching, we'd love for you to just put in the comments where you're watching from if you're watching. For those who are going to be watching this in the replay, please still enter it anyway so we can look back and check and see
And
who's
see.
watching.
Right.
But Career Tip Tuesday, this is where Makeda and I come on every other Tuesday and we just provide some career tips live and answer any questions you may have. So today we're going to be talking about job crafting, right? Which is something you don't hear about very often. And job crafting really is overall just kind of crafting your own role, right? Looking at specific areas of your job that you want to be more of who you are and how you do that. So, hey, Kimberly, we're glad you watched.
Yay. Should I read the definition? It-
Yeah, read the definition, Makeda, of job
I,
crafting.
I
Let's
really
go.
like this definition. Job crafting is an individually driven work design process, so there's some work in there, which refers to self-initiated proactive strategies to change the characteristics of one's job to better align with the job of your personal needs, goals, and skills. And I love that because it's totally got you at the center, you in mind, your goals, your skills, and what you want. And again, we're all about making sure we're putting strategies in place for you to get the career that you want.
Yes, and I think Makita said it perfectly. It's all about providing you, helping you get clarity and gain strategy and solutions to really just to create the type of career that you want. And I love that definition. Very simplistic, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So why do you think, Makita, we don't talk about job crafting enough in our roles?
Um, because traditional job crafting is from the perspective of a manager or the employer to the employee. So we're so focused on, well, do I have this skill that they want? And we just, we kind of don't think, well, what else am I bringing to the table? What else, can I just add? What other value can I add? So I think that maybe that's one part. Two, we're kind of reactive in that
Mhm.
sense, right? We're just so focused on let's get it done, let's get it done, let's get it done. I got to do this, I got to do that, and we're not kind of sitting and thinking, well, what do I want? What do I need to do? What are my goals? What are my other things that I want to accomplish, etc. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think that sometimes we take our the job description that we read, right? That we initially read before we get the job, and then maybe for some organizations you sign a job description when you get hired,
Mhm,
just as
mhm,
acknowledgement that this is your role and responsibility, and then that's it. And then we
mhm.
go off and we do it. But for someone who's worked in talent acquisition and hired people for many, many years, a job description really is just a basic outline or overview of what you do. It really does not break down everything that you do within your role descriptively, right? So I think we miss out on opportunities of areas that we can craft and define our roles because we're so stuck on, well, this is what on paper, this is what it says I'm supposed to be doing, so this is what I have to do, and
Mhm,
not thinking
mhm.
about how can I mold this into fitting my personality, who I am, my strengths, what I bring to the table, all these other things, and because we think there's no room for that. But
And
it's okay for managers to put more on our plate, right?
yes, and
Have
we often take it, or we our scope, the scope creep sort of conversation. Our job often evolves without us stopping to say, hey, like, what am I really doing? And let me go back to my manager and talk about recrafting the job or kind of scoping the job that I'm actually doing. And we never know what that may end up leading to. Hopefully more money, right? But we just want to be or make sure that we're getting what we want out of our jobs.
Yeah. So let's talk about the benefits of job crafting, right? What are the benefits of job crafting? So we're going to break that down. We'll talk about, and I think you just brought it up, Makeda, about greater work satisfaction, right? Because again, what is that? And you have to define what does that look like for you? Don't you agree? It needs to be.
Hmm.
When we're talking about greater work satisfaction, what does that mean to you? You know, there's parts of our jobs we love and parts of our jobs we don't like.
Right, right, absolutely. And we often have our goals in mind and our kind of finish line and our skills in mind, but aren't necessarily always working towards them in the current job, or maybe it's not in our IDP or something that our boss is aware of. So bringing that to our boss or our managers and saying, hey, this is where I'm going. I'm doing this already. You guys may come to an agreement like, okay, yes, this will work. This might actually work, and get into sort of a new sort of scope.
So that leads into enhanced professional development, right? So there's areas of opportunity that you know that there's going to be areas of your job you like, areas that you don't like. But if you're adding things to your responsibility that you know that you are strong in and that can be beneficial to others, this is also enhancing your professional development on its own
Mhm,
organically
mhm,
because you're not asking for the additional responsibility because you're already doing it. So
mhm,
you're just like actually really being able to say on your resume that you have been able to achieve this or accomplish that, or this is what you do. It's another task or responsibility or role that what you're doing that enhances your professional development, which leads to
increased marketability. Absolutely, absolutely.
mhm, right, and which means that now you have an opportunity for promotions, or even if you
Right.
decide to leave the organization and maybe it's a new job title.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
with increased responsibility outside of what you're already doing.
Yeah,
Just thinking about how these things are going to benefit you.
yeah.
Um,
It's to the point of development slash increased marketability. It always helps you keep what's next in mind. It always helps you keep that. What's the next goal? What is it that I need to obtain? What skills do I need to develop next that'll help me get to next? So, definitely a really great skill to begin to implement.
no, I like the fact that you talked about keep in mind the next goal, right? I think that we sometimes we are so busy looking at the bigger picture that we don't focus on just what that next goal is and trying to accomplish that first. Because once you accomplish that, it now may give you clarity for what needs to be next
Mhm,
versus
mhm,
trying to look at the bigger picture and then trying to fill in the blanks along the way. Take it one step at a time, and then
mhm.
that should guide you to what the bigger picture will look like as well.
Right.
So I like that too. So let's talk about the steps in order of what you okay. So say for instance, Makeda's working in her job. She's found an area of opportunity to do something amazing within her role of responsibility that really fits a strong area that she has that she's not able to utilize right now. you know then now she wants to approach her boss about this opportunity. Okay,
Mhm,
let's
mhm,
take those steps. Let's talk about the first one, which is deciding what you can change about your role. Right now, initially people will think deciding what you want to change. This isn't about what you want to change, it's about
mhm,
what you can change,
mhm.
because there's some things you absolutely are not going to be able to
Right.
change.
Right, right, absolutely. So there's just again, the job that you were hired for, or the job that you're currently in, there's stuff that you probably cannot change, you don't want to do, and you have to excel at that. You have to continue to produce and continue to do those things. Those things you probably cannot change. So you have to do some work and actually looking at, well, what are the tasks that I can change?
Right, exactly. And then once you decide on what it is that you can change about your role that fits more of who you are and the gifts and talents that you bring to the position or to the role, Then you have to decide the next thing. How and who will it impact?
This
Right?
is this is huge. This is huge. And you have to start with how does it impact your manager, right? How is it going to impact your direct supervisor? This has got to be something that not only you can execute and do well in, but something that he is going to say, yep, this impacts me and it's beneficial. So, yes. Uh, yes, this is something that we can do or get done.
Yep. How and who will it impact? And thinking about the bigger picture, and when you are approaching your manager about adding these responsibilities to your job title, you better have it outlined
Mhm.
pretty. I mean, to the T about who it's going to impact.
Yeah. You
Because
also
that's go ahead,
okay,
Makita.
I was just gonna say, you also have to, think about what risks are there, right? So, because you wanna add something or do something else, maybe, some task that you don't necessarily want, that's not gonna go away, until, um, maybe you've kind of proven that this can be done. So you gotta think about, if I'm doing this, what risks are there for this task? Am I going to have to do it faster? Okay, let's put a plan in place on how I can potentially automate this, or how I
Hmm.
can streamline this, or how I can maybe develop somebody else on my team to do this. So you have to think about the risks and have a plan for those risks as well.
Yeah, I like that because everything is always. I always talk about this. That everything's connected, whether we choose to believe it or not.
Mhm,
So one thing can impact the other, and again, you have to think about that too. And I love
mhm,
that Makita added about the risk because you do have to make sure you're factoring that in as well. All right, so we have four steps. Okay, there's four steps in alignment. Since we this is more like an overall what you need to consider when you're doing this. So again, the first thing is going back to decide what you can change.
mhm,
That's number one. Number two, which we haven't talked about, which is make it a win-win. It's got to work.
mhm,
It's got to work for all parties involved.
mhm,
So it goes back to that: what's in it for me, but what's in it for them? Because that's what's going to be on their mind. Well, what's in it for me?
mhm,
How's it going to make it better?
mhm,
Well, I have
mhm,
metrics that I have to report to my boss. How are you going to make sure that what our deliverables are going to be what they need to be for the overall
right,
goals? I have to go back and speak to. This is your manager talking, right?
mhm, right,
What I have to go back and answer for. How is this going to be beneficial?
right.
So you have to go in, and even though you know what the win is for you, you got to do
Mhm.
telling them what the win is going to be for them.
We had an elevating conversation, was it March or so, with Dr. Natalia Pert. She said, in all things you do, make sure it aligns with the strategic priorities with the company. So in
Mhm.
your job crafting, tie it back to the strategic priority. And that way your boss can clearly kind of see the strategy, or kind of the dotted lines of, how does this not only win for me, but for the company.
Yeah, and that really, and if you really want to accomplish what you need to accomplish for yourself, this needs to be the number one goal, right? Because at the end of the day, they're gonna give a damn if you're trying to make sure that you're making yourself marketable. They don't care about that, right? You do for your future
Mhm.
career, but they don't. So you do have to make sure that what you're proposing, again, like Makita said beautifully, align with strategic priorities of the company. Even though in the back of your mind you're like, okay, doing this work is probably going to give me an extra $10,000 a
Right.
year if I go somewhere else.
Right.
Again, this goes back to what we talked about: be having clarity, providing strategy and solutions.
Mhm.
This is about being strategic when it comes to this. And strategy is all about making sure that the company is getting what they need out of you, but you're also making sure that it is that what you are crafting and doing within your own scope of work is going to elevate you to that next level.
Right.
So you got to be able to do both. So I like that. All right. And so the next thing is, now that you decided what you can change, want to make it a win, Now you got to put it in place, right? You have to implement what you put in place, and now you've got to do the work, and then you got to measure for positive outcomes,
Right.
whatever that looks like. If it's first 90 days, you want to measure it. Of course, your manager is definitely going to want to see the outcomes to make sure it's a win-win for them as well, on top of
Mhm.
their initiatives. So you got to start tracking the progress and making sure that it meets the objective that you sold them on,
Right.
um, as to why you need to do or you should do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I see Annette and Anise and Shayna and Kimberly. Thank you for tuning in, and look at the ladies up in the West Coast, because this time it's still like what, early morning for you guys a little bit. So thank you for stopping, taking
Mhm.
time out of your work to stop and listen
Yes.
to us. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, and then you want to keep in mind what your next goal is, right? Because
Yes.
now that you've achieved that, you want to go back and make sure that what is the next thing you accomplish? You've accomplished this. You've had some positive outcomes. You see that now it's definitely been a win-win for everyone involved. Now just defining what's next. All right. Anything else we need to wrap up with that? Any questions, ladies? I'm kind of looking for my cell phone, Makita. I'm looking at the comments on my cell
Yeah.
phone.
Okay. If there are any questions, or just tell us, have you put this practice into place? You've done some job crafting. I know I have before. I've tried it at one of my past employers and it didn't work. They're like, "Nope, I need you to do what we need you to do," and I ended up leaving.
Yeah, and I think and I remember that, Makita. I think you told me about that when you
Mhm.
told me, so yeah, it's time to go. I remember that call. So
Right.
here's three tips with this, and I don't think I have them in here, but we're talking about specifically when you thinking about it again. Think about the relationships that you have.
Mhm.
I'm putting that
Mhm.
in all caps because I think that is important to think about the relationships that you have, the relationship with your manager, the relationship with the people who this is going to impact, that the change will impact, and then still think about the overall purpose too, your overall purpose for why you want to do it,
Right.
and
Right.
making sure that it makes sense for you and for the people that will be impacted. This will be impacted. So, but don't expect to go in, I think, and redefine your whole job.
Mhm.
You because again, your job description is just a brief overview of what you do, but it will not define everything that you do. So I
Right.
hate when I hear people say, "That's not in my job description, girl. I ain't doing that." Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are going to do it because you're already doing it. Yes or
Yes.
no? So yeah, don't be one of those that are talking about it's not in my job description. That's not going to get you very far.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm. No,
Get you very far
it
because that's
won't.
it. Yeah. And if it is in your job description, or if everyone is coming to you and having you do something that's not in your job description, they're probably coming to you because maybe you do it better than anybody else.
Mhm.
Think about it
Mhm.
like that.
Mhm.
It's not that they're dumping the work off on you unless you're allowing them to dump it off on you. But more than likely, the reason why they are is giving that responsibility to you because maybe you do it better than anybody else on the team.
Right.
They may not say that, but you need to think about that. And if that's it, speak up and say it. Am I getting this work because you guys like the way I do it?
Yeah.
So
Ask those
just
questions.
ask those questions, and you'll get the answers you're looking for. And then again,
Mhm.
if you feel like you're being dumped on because or the work is being passed off on you because no one else wants to do it, then that's a whole different conversation.
Mhm. It
For
is.
sure, absolutely for sure. But again, job crafting is your responsibility. Is definitely something you need to take the initiative on, but just make sure you plan for it and prepare.
Mhm.
Yep, just plan for it and prepare. So I know that I think we covered everything, didn't we, Makita?
I think
Takeaway
we did. Yep,
and
I think we did.
all right. Well, I think that is it for our career tip Tuesday.
Hopefully it was helpful.
Hopefully it was helpful. We will go ahead and provide this in the replay for you guys, but I hope you guys have an amazing week. We hope you enjoy these tips about job crafting, and I hope they're useful for you guys. I think we should do a workshop on this, shouldn't we? I think it'd be kind of
I
cool.
think so. It's yes. It's 2022. Let's do
Let's
it.
do it.
we
All
need
right,
we
guys.
need we need to put this. We need to begin to put this in practice. Because
Yeah.
again, the overall goal and the reason why people might want to do this is for greater job satisfaction.
Job satisfaction, and it's also an opportunity for you to be able to um, showcase your talents and gifts in a way that maybe you're not able to do otherwise.
Hmm.
Mhm. Yep. And like Makita said, you'll know if you'll be able to or if it's time to go.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, I hope you guys have an amazing Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next Career Tip Tuesday.
All right.
Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.